this computer. All right, so it's a good evening once again to everybody out there in South Africa and everywhere else in the world that are watching this live stream, that are listening to this today. It's good to have you, Dumelang, Molweni, Sanbonani. It's always a pleasure having you guys log in and try to listen to these live chats that we do on a Mondays to speak about these important issues around families and fatherhood. And I think it's so an honor and really a privilege on this first, no, actually it's not the first anymore, it's the third day of the Women's Month to have a woman to be a guest on the show. So Miss Erna, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Ronald. I'm honored. I appreciate it.
It's an honor and a privilege, really, like I said, to have you. And I think I just want to appreciate you coming from the SAVF Foundation. Can you please tell us a bit more about that so we can kind of understand the background from which you come from now?
Okay, so I am a social worker, but I'm working in FOMNET in the SAVF. FOMNET is my division, which stands for Family Network. Yeah, I've been there for 10 years now. And I'm basically doing parenting programs and then also the Fathers Network, coordinating the Fathers Network, and SAMNET, which is the South African Male Mentorship Network as well. I'm kind of the mother of the fathers, you know. So yeah, that's what I'm involved in. SAVF is an organization, a welfare organization, working in 5 provinces, doing all kinds of social work and working with all kinds of my goodness, different facilities for old people, for children, and then social work officers as well.
Right, and why did you choose the particular angle that speaks to fatherhood and families? I would imagine someone would have been thinking, you know, potentially a man would be most suited, as it were, to speak about these issues. How did you find yourself, you know, speaking about and championing fatherhood issues as you currently do?
You know, in my position, I was asked to be part of the Department of Social Development Family Forum, and we worked together on a white paper on families, which was accepted in 2013, and then in 2014 it was launched. But while we were working on that, we looked at the statistics and the current situation with children growing up in homes with or without fathers, and I think I was just so touched by the fact that 65% of children in our country grow up without fathers. And I just felt it couldn't be like that. So my heart is actually with the children who miss out on having a father. And that's where we started. We started with a big campaign, trying to get the media involved in creating awareness of the importance of fathers, and gradually it moved into a fathers network, which we coordinate, because there are quite a few people out there already doing quite a bit around addressing fatherhood issues and father involvement. So I actually just coordinated this network so that they can actually work together, get to know one another better, and strengthen the whole movement towards getting fathers more involved.
And I think it's a sad statistic that you threw on earlier. Yes. To say about 65% of children, you know, grow up without fathers in the household, which is something that drove you to this. And how do you relate to that on a more personal level? Like in terms of, did you have your dad perhaps at home? How was your relationship with your dad, and how has this influenced what you do currently?
Yeah. It's interesting. Maybe it influenced it. My father was involved, and I actually had a very good relationship with him. He had, however, a drinking problem for most of my life as a child. He stopped drinking at some point when I was a student. But through it all, we actually had such a good understanding and a good relationship. I think he was the calmer one of my 2 parents, and he had a lot of good qualities which I enjoyed and appreciated, although his drinking actually had a huge effect on us financially specifically, but then also with the conflict that it brings and a lot of other things. And it took a long time for me to recover from that part. But the relationship part was, interesting enough, was good. I think we had a close relationship. Maybe that's something which I wish for children to have, you know, even amidst problems. No father, no mother is perfect. But in spite of that, to have a good relationship and to have that security and safe feeling of having your father at home in your life.
No, that's good. In the work of your current employ, I'm sure you've dealt with a number of organizations that kind of reach out to these people that don't have fathers, and you speak to a lot of men who are struggling to kind of accept that role that they are now fathers and must stop acting like boys. How have you seen that particular problem of alcoholism almost tear apart families, if at all, from your own personal experience?
Yes, I think it's such a common problem, and it's not only, well, it starts actually these days with very young people, you know, but it's one of, if I work a lot in communities and train leaders in communities, and often that's the first thing they would say: alcohol is such a big, poverty is a big problem, but alcohol is even a bigger problem, and the two they go hand in hand. So it is a huge problem, yes.
Sure. And have you experienced potentially women, I'm imagining, attending these kind of workshops and speaking out about these issues, about the fathers that they're in the house or that are actually not in the house, and how that affects the manner in which they are raising their children? Is it something that has come up at all during your trainings, potential, and seminars that you've had?
Yes, it certainly does come up. I think just by meeting people, hearing what they say, when I do my trainings, people will speak up and they will just share their stories. What I often find is that women growing up without fathers become strong. They need to deal with everything. They need to deal with educating or training their children, raising their children, but they also need to bring in income. They need to take care of the protection of their children, and they often cannot do that, but they become strong in that. Unfortunately, so strong that they seem not to need men anymore. So they push men away, not only from themselves, but also from their children, which is a sad part of that. And it actually just perpetuates the problem of fathers not being involved, because I can raise my children, I can take care of them. I don't want you in their lives, just go away. Maybe that's also a good thing why I am there in this position as a woman, because it's not only men's fault that they are not involved. It's often women and their families' resistance against men that children grow up without fathers, and it just circles and circles. It just continues. And that's a very sad part. Another part of fathers not being involved is if they didn't have a role model, if they didn't have fathers, they don't have they don't know how to be a father. And not every man would go to somebody to teach them and to mentor them in being a father. So I don't feel it's only men. Yes, men should be more involved. Men should take courage and be involved. But it's a wider problem than only men who are worth nothing and therefore they're not there. It's much wider than that.
You touched on something that I think a lot of men have raised, either in trying to seek help because they cannot and are struggling to access have access to their children, because that what we call baby mama drama has kind of gotten in the way, and now children do not have access to their parents, well, their fathers mostly. And being a woman, I think, of course, as a mother as well, you kind of, like you say, are in a privileged position to almost make them see the importance of them, forgetting and going past and moving on from the problems that they've had with their partners, and think for the best interest of the child. Now, I see here that there's a comment that came through from Bridget who says the career that you on, Erna, is something that has chosen you instead of you choosing it. But in that light, you know, I saw some communication that you sent about last year. What would you tell men, firstly, and secondly, if at all, women that are currently watching this thing and saying, you know what, I'm struggling to get in touch with my child. I've got the money, I want to take care of my child, but this mama won't let me see my child. What would you say to that man today? And follow up to that as well, what would you tell the mother of that child?
I think the first thing, which maybe is also always the priority which we should give, is to talk one-to-one, mother to father, father to mother, and try in a calm and collected way, try and find a way. I think once fathers know and mothers know what children miss out if father is not involved in their lives, and what happened to children when they grow up without fathers, they might be more inclined to understand that they need to involve the father, they need to open that door. But from the father's side as well, if the father can come and say, listen, our child, I don't want our child to be out on the streets, violent, early involved in teenage pregnancy or in drugs and alcohol. And this is what typically happens, or most of the time happens, if a father is not involved in a child's life. So please, for that reason, let's both be positively involved in our child's life. Now, that's the beginning. If that doesn't help, if it's a young father, it might help if he can go to his own parents and ask their assistance and their support. Let the older people start talking about the importance of a father being involved in the child's life. Now, if that doesn't happen, if it brings them nowhere, the next step could be to go to the Children's Court, because it's against the Children's Act to keep another parent away. Sometimes the cultural law is a stronger one than the country's law, but our country's law says that if a parent doesn't allow the other parent to be involved, and if that parent moves away without giving the new address to the other parent, that the parent doing that could be, that's an offense, and they could be sent to jail for up to a year, which none of us want, but that can happen. So that's something which really makes us understand how important it is also for the law of our country that we should involve the father in the child's life. And the court will then involve the family advocates and involve this family in mediation so that they can sort out this problem between them. That's the beginning. These are the most important things that a father can do. The mother on the other side, as I said, I think I actually answered that as well. You know, it's so important that mothers understand. None of us want our children to be drug addicts and alcoholics and to go to jail and to repeat the circle of teenage pregnancies. But those are the things that happen if a child doesn't grow up with the security of a father in their lives. Specifically also, not only the girl child, but also the girl child. So if a mother understands that, maybe she will think twice and open that door for the father. And then maybe there's a lot of other things, practical things that need to be sorted out. But that could be the beginning of raising this child with that security and love of both parents in his life.
No, thank you very much for that. And I think for someone who's listening, who is thinking potentially, like something I always try to encourage as well, is to, like you said, let's try and work this whole disagreement, misunderstanding through the families. You know, let's try and get the parents of the other side involved, you know, so we can try and work it out without aggravating issues, as it were. But of
Yes.
course, when that fails, then we can take the legal route. I think, don't you see people bailing along the way, trying to maintain the good relations so much that they would rather not, in your experience of your work anyway, they would rather not pursue that legal aspect that could actually enforce their rights, out of fear of aggravating perhaps the situation between the families? Is that something that you encounter a lot along the way?
Yes, I know about fathers who gave up. They just gave up because everything they tried didn't work, and it's just yeah. There's just no harmony anymore. There's just yeah. Specifically, if one parent is more brings in all kind of powers to help, if they have links in the police, they use that to keep the father away, or they have a lawyer with a strong voice. They use that to keep the father away. And the child is damaged all the way, But yes, I know personally people that I spend a lot of time with who just gave up. They just gave up. They just decided it's not the fight worth. I still, I still wish they would continue, but I also understand you get tired and it's just an unpeaceful way of doing things. When people are unreasonable in the fight, and that about contact with the child.
Sure. No, I see. It's something that's really passionate and close to your heart. You're not doing this, like Brish was saying, just as a job, but it's something that
No.
really has invested your emotions in that. And I think with that, how do you manage to survive? Like we speak to doctors every day, and they go to the hospital and they try and treat some people, and some people end up not making it and they pass away, and they go back home and they have to be mommy or slash daddy to their families, leaving all that emotional and physical baggage behind at the office where they found it. Now, with your job, you deal with such cases that talk about children, which you're passionate about, that talk about people's lives and people's husbands and people's wives, and issues that kind of separate them and cause them to fight at some point in time. How do you manage as Erna to live all of that at the office? So by the time you get home, your husband, your children, your grandchildren get to enjoy you, wholly you, without those things holding you back.
Okay, the one thing that I have to my advantage is that I'm not a caseworker, so I don't really. There are times when I work with people individually, but most of the time I'm coordinating, I'm training, but still, when you get to know people, they get to trust you. They start telling their stories, and those stories really can burn a hole in your heart. That's actually what I experience. And then I have to withdraw a bit and just get some healing for myself, so filling up, and before I can continue again. So I try to put down certain boundaries. There are times when I don't react to certain things. When I watch the news a lot and I see the things which are described as the effects of father absence, I get very discouraged because, why are we doing what we're doing if nothing happens out there, But I mean, it's a long-term work and we might have all the problems for a very long time still. So I rather not watch the news, and focus on something which is beautiful and something which is peaceful and good music and nature, and the spiritual part of me often fills me up to deal with these things as well. So I believe there must be a rhythm and there must be some boundaries. I cannot just continue, only face all these kind of difficult things. I have to do some self-care.
I can imagine. Somebody's just put a comment there. So, children need to know that their parents fought for them, even at age 50. children will still ask, why did the other parent not fight for them? Is this something that would make some sense? Because look, we're meeting a lot of young men who are angry because daddy was not there. Now we're no longer looking or focusing, of course, on the father side of life, but we're looking at the effects now in their children and their daughters that they abandoned, as it were, for one reason or another. And we see all this anger, we see all this agitation that they have, that they have against the authority, that they have against the system, that they have against sometimes even elderly people that are elderly because of that father absence. How do we deal with that? How do we talk and encourage these young people to, at least, if at all, try and seek out their parents perhaps, or try and restore and fix the relationships that are broken with their parents who might not have been at home? What's your take on that?
Sure. I think it's a very loaded question you're asking now. The one thing that comes to mind, just to emphasize what you said, there was people would tell me stories because they know of my interest. And I remember somebody watched, I think, Kumule Kaya or one of those TV programs, and they said there was a 60-year-old man talking about his father that he didn't know, and he still wished he could know him. You would think at 60, well, you sort of adapt in life and you do whatever you need to do, but that longing is still there. So yeah, that's the one part of it. People growing up without a father, I'm quite sure it's necessary to get some healing, some restoration from that. Sometimes we need to be in a therapy session or a few. Sometimes I also believe a mentorship situation can be quite healing. And it's not only healing, it can be a situation in which you learn and which you grow, you learn new values, new skills. I quite believe that mentorship is a very strong way to bring restoration for somebody, not only for children, but also for adults who grew up without a father. I was in a conference last year and one man told me he was married, he had 2 children, and then he came home one day and the lady, his wife said, you know what, I cancelled our rent. I'm going back to my mom and take the children with me. You need to find some other place to live. They never had the opportunity to talk about things, what went wrong. He didn't know what went wrong. And then as I talked to him, I realized this woman never had a father in her life. She didn't understand the importance, and she didn't have that commitment in a relationship with a man. So she didn't understand how important he was for his children. And I felt so sad. I felt she was the one who needed a mentor to help her understand how important her relationship with her husband was, and also his relationship with their children. But she just ended everything without discussing anything with him. That's one of the examples why I feel, mentorship could have made a difference. We, about 2 or 3 years ago, we made five of us in the network made a series of about 33 videos which we put on our website, and we called it the Guide to Restoration for people growing up with a father pain. So when people go to our justdaddit.co.za website, they will find the Guide to Restoration from Father Pain. And these videos are really very useful. We talk about the healing, we talk about the mentorship, we talk about what should mothers do, how should mothers answer when their children ask, who is my father? Because often they don't want to answer that question. And how should the counselor even treat this whole situation when a child wants to know about the father and needs healing there. So we take it from all different sides, from mentorship, from fatherhood skills. We brought in fatherhood skills there as well, and several of our network people who are really experts in their field contributed in those videos. So please, people can go and watch that.
What's the name of the website again, just for someone who might have missed it?
Just Dad It.
Just Dad It, as in IT.
Yes, and .co.za.
All right, no, thank you for that. Just dadit.co.za.
Yes.
Just do it, man. Like Nike says, just do it. Be a dad.
Yeah.
Take care of your kids.
Yeah.
Stop
So
running
just,
away.
yes.
But for someone who's struggling, look, Erna, you look like you're a repository of knowledge when it comes to these issues of fatherhood and familyhood and parenthood. You know, and you surprise me because you don't look that old. I think you just look like you've gone 30 the other day. So I don't know how you managed to get this experience. But I think that the one thing that I would like to find out for you now, on a personal note, you have all this experience, you have all this knowledge, you know exactly how men should be mentored to become dads, etc., etc. How do you avoid trying to tell your husband how to raise his kids?
Okay, so yes, for the ladies out there is a secret, which I had to, you see, my husband wouldn't let me tell him things. I had to let him think that he actually thought it out, you know. So I had to be very gentle. And I realized, and this is something that I would always tell women, is don't shout and scream at your husband and try to get something out of him. That doesn't work. But if you discuss things and say, listen, you know, I think your son needs some time with you. Why don't you go and kick a ball outside? Or what about we do this, that, and the other? And in the long run, it really, you know, yeah, I think his own father wasn't that actively involved. He was involved. He was a solid man. He was there, but he didn't go and do things with my husband when he was a child. But yeah, so my husband had to get some motivation, some encouragement, but he bought into it. And I would sometimes just share and say, you know, I experienced this and that works. And when I look again, I see that he does it as well, you know. So it's a sharing and a pulling in and let's try this, and why don't you, you know, and but to blame doesn't work. To, you know, to shout and scream, it doesn't work. No, not at all.
I think men of the world can tell that there is some sort of manipulation that works to get these things right.
a positive kind of manipulation.
That's good. I think, Erna, if on a final note, if you were to get a stage, if you were, just pretend today's video is going to be seen by the whole world at some point in time. Yeah. What's the one message, what's the one thing that you'd like to tell families, fathers, mothers out there to be on the lookout for?
I think COVID-19 taught us a lot again. It brought us back to simple things as a family because we had to spend time together. And I think families need to search for the things which doesn't cost money, which doesn't involve a lot of trouble, but which is just there. There are so many things that we can do with whatever we have in our homes. So we should try that, we should do that. I said earlier on, and we all know that. We know it because we know ourselves. Nobody is perfect. No parent is perfect. We make mistakes. But our mistakes shouldn't prevent us from trying again and building relationships. Our children can get over our mistakes, but we should come back and stay involved. And I think for fathers who are not involved, for whatever reason, whether they are being kept away or whether they are away because they don't know how to be fathers, I would like to say to them, just take some courage, be brave, and be involved. It takes some bravery. Sometimes we have to face a lot of difficulties inside ourselves or from outside, but just be brave and go and continue trying and trying to be an involved father in your child's life.
No, thank you.
For mothers, I want to say a last thing for mothers.
Yeah.
A child, this for a child, no difference for a child if his mother kept the father away and if his father stayed away. The effect is exactly the same. This is one thing which mothers can do. They can take away that effect by involving the father if he wants to be involved.
Sure, that's deep. That's deep. I wish we had, the whole day to talk about this, because I can see, like I said, you're a well of knowledge and experience and wisdom in these issues. I think potentially we'll potentially get you back again and talk more about these issues. But I think we've promised people 30 minutes, and the 30 minutes is up. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you and says, Erna, I was touched by 1, 2, or 3 things, and I want to continue this conversation with you on a private level, are you available too? And what are your details, your contact details, if so?
Yes, they can contact me on email. It's ERHEEDER. So E for Erna and Rheeder at savf.co.za.
Not a problem. And if anybody didn't catch that, let me know. Drop me an inbox. I'll give you that email of Erna's. But otherwise, thank you very much, Erna, for your time, your wisdom, your patience. We appreciate it, your knowledge. It was an honor and a privilege having you on this show tonight.
Thank you very much, Ronald. And thank you for Bridget, my colleague, who was really a support being here. Thank you very much.
Everybody else that's watching in the world, we appreciate it. Thank you for taking your time. And we hope we'll be seeing you soon again in the near future. For tonight, it's adios.